how do we bring our heart along with our finances? And that is be willing to actually change gears. What do I mean by that? So often, if you look at generations before us, the generations before us their careers were like in a linear line and they didn't really change. Maybe they went up the corporate ladder or the job at work, and that's how you got to where it is that you want to be. But the challenge is that today, I mean, we know people change their jobs 7, 8, 9 times in their careers. They're not staying in the same career path. But the challenge is we get comfortable. And because we don't like change very well, which the only guarantee in life is change, right? That we have got to start to adapt and be willing to switch gears and to change and to shift. What's going on, everybody? I am so excited to teach you how to bring your heart along with your financial choices, because often we don't do that because most financial decisions are made from our left brain logical. And you're dealing with professionals like me that tend to be more left brain logical. So remember, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and the notification bell. Why? Because I am going to get you to a life that you love because you deserve it. I am telling you, it is time for all of us to live a life that we truly are happy about and it's sustainable. And the challenge is we work things out and we act it out and we do it through our money, through our health, and through our relationships. So today I want to talk about how do you bring your heart along with your financial choices. I started to realize years ago when I was doing some studying underneath this scientist, actually. His name is Greg Braden. And if any of you guys want to Google him, he's got lots of YouTube videos about how the physical body actually works. And I did this other work with Deepak Chopra where he would talk about how people would get sick and they would act things out from a health perspective. And so I started to see this correlation between our heart and our heads, which an organization called Heart Math talks about, that our heart and our heads have to be in alignment to create sustainable happiness and good health. And the majority of us do not do that. So I'm going to give you these 5 tips today that I've got in terms of how do you bring your heart along with your financial choices. So number 1 is I need you to realize you can't change who you are. There are so many things in our society today that tell us that you're the wrong version and that something outside of yourself is actually going to be more successful and better than the tools you already have inside of yourself. Particularly if you're somebody who operates more from the right brain. You may be saying, well, I've never been really good at money and money's always just been its thing, but we all have to deal with money because money's just part of the world. So I want you to stop telling yourself that story because you have to remember that is only a story that you are telling yourself, and you cannot change who you are. It's about building a financial infrastructure around exactly who you are to make you feel calm, collected, supported, because money is just the result of everything else going on in your life. So this is why at my wealth management firm, JMC Wealth Management here in Chicago, that we do what we call 2 risk questionnaires to figure out how are we measuring your left brain, but then also how are we measuring your right brain? Because the right brain is the emotional side. For some reason, my industry has completely taken the human heart and emotions out of finance. And I'm here to tell you it has to be part of the equation, or you will always have some kind of suffering pattern that comes up. I have people that work really hard and they're rocking it at work and they're making all this money, and all of a sudden they find themselves 20 years later divorced and half their money just goes out the door. The same happens if you're busting your butt with your employer and you're doing all these things, then all of a sudden they decide to change corporate direction and you no longer have that job and you're like, ugh. And when we give up parts of ourselves to be in those relationships, to be in those jobs, that's actually what creates the fiscal dysfunction down the road. which actually leads me to the second point that I want to make in terms of how do we bring our heart along with our finances. And that is be willing to actually change gears. What do I mean by that? So often, if you look at generations before us, the generations before us their careers were like in a linear line and they didn't really change. Maybe they went up the corporate ladder or the job at work, and that's how you got to where it is that you want to be. But the challenge is that today, I mean, we know people change their jobs 7, 8, 9 times in their careers. They're not staying in the same career path. But the challenge is we get comfortable. And because we don't like change very well, which the only guarantee in life is change, right? That we have got to start to adapt and be willing to switch gears and to change and to shift. Now, that can produce a lot of anxiety. It can produce a lot of challenges in your family life. But I'm here to tell you that if you don't do that and you have this calling to shift gears and you're not doing it, the world has a way of actually forcing that to happen. So here's the third piece that I'd like to share with you about how do we bring our heart along the way. We have to ask questions from a different angle. So there's very traditional questions. In my book, Awaken Your Wealth, which I will actually, right here, I am going to give you that link there because I am giving my book away for free. You just have to pay for your own shipping. But I talk about on page 92 through like 95, all these questions that you can ask yourself that come from a different angle in your family life, in your career, in your personal life, in your financial life, how to approach your finances from a different angle. Some of those questions are, as an example, as like, what's your why behind what financial decisions that you've made? Because often we get the financial product that we get because that is what the professional told us to get. But when I ask people, why do you have this investment or why do you have this insurance product? They're like, I don't know, that's just what they sold us. And if you haven't understood your why and it hasn't landed inside of you that you can give that answer as to, oh, this is why I have it for this person, then somehow you've negotiated yourself away in that process because it doesn't have any meaning to you and you feel like you filled a hole and you may or may not have. So, other questions to ask is, financially, if you look at, let's just say your mortgage, that's an easy one for most of us. That what year do you no longer want to have a mortgage payment any longer? And people look at me like, well, what do you mean? Like in the 15 years or the 30 years that my product is set up? Well, so often we're putting our objective or our full objective, what we want out of that mortgage payment. Why? Because we usually make the decision from, well, it's the least amount that I pay out of pocket for my cash flows. Well, yeah, that may be one of the answers, but it's usually not the whole part of the equation. So I would encourage you to start to ask some of these questions that come from a different angle. You know, and again, we have those in my book, Awaken Your Wealth. And if you just go to awakenyourwealthbook.com, you can get my book for free. You just have to pay for your shipping and help you down that journey to ask those different questions. So number 4 is I want you to make sure that you're keeping things flexible. And what do I mean by that? So often we don't build our, what I'll call your financial pyramid with a solid base that has flexibility. We usually have pigeonholed ourselves so often. So it's super easy for most of us to set up our retirement plans through our employer and it's on autopilot. I don't even have to do anything. It comes out of my paycheck and it just goes there. And then today, credit lines are super easy for most of us to get. So we have these credit lines that are set up so that if the shit hits the fan, guess what? We're just going to use the credit cards. We're just going to use our home line of credit. We're just going to use, whatever debt instrument because those are super easy to get these days. And you have to ask yourself, why are they so easy? They're so easy because they keep you trapped. They keep you trapped into a life that you likely don't want to live. Now, there are people in the financial services world that will say, well, but if I can get an interest rate of 2 or 3% and I'm only paying out that and I can make 6% over here. Yes, that is all true. But I am telling you, the day that people pay off their debts, their student loan debts, their home debt, their car debt, people are happy. Yes, we are happy the day we pay off those commitments and those debt patterns, which means that we're happier without debt than we are with debt. So remember that, okay? And when we want to keep flexibility, you don't keep using debt instruments. So here we're using debt for short term emergencies as a whole, as a society. And then we're doing long term stuff that you can't touch until your retirement years. And the flexibility is gone. We've stretched ourselves to the limit. And this is the challenge because then you have no way to move when life happens. We don't change our jobs because we haven't built an infrastructure for flexibility so that if I lost my job or I chose to leave my job, do I have money that I can live on to give me the bridge to get me to the next place? And this is where that financial pyramid comes into place. How does the base of your pyramid look to create your own flexibility? How do you become your own bank? And how do you become your own insurance company? Why do we have to use these third parties for those things? And I understand they might be a bridge to that next reality, but I'm telling you, it's a lack of freedom. So you want to look at where it is that you're at. And certainly, if you send an email and you want to have a consultation with a financial planner, info@JMC Wealth. And you can set up a consultation appointment with somebody in my office, and they can help you on this journey to try to start build some of that pyramid in place to create a solid foundation. And here's number 5. To really bring your heart along for the ride, what I need you to do is I need you to start saying no. I need you to start saying no. We have a lot of leaky containers going on out there. I want people to understand that when we bail people out all the time, we do it because our hearts are in the right place. But I am telling you, you are not allowing the other person, whether it's your child, your sibling, your parents, you're not allowing them to actually live in the expression of exactly what they are creating. And why would that be important? Because when you say no, that actually, it's the most loving thing that you can do for somebody else because you're allowing them the space then to build their own financial muscles. You don't necessarily have to say no in terms of helping them educate themselves and how to fix it themselves. But if you're just fixing it for them, and we see this a lot, particularly with our children these days. I have parents that have no idea. They're like, she's 28 years old and she's still using the credit card that I gave her when she went to college. And it's like, why are we not stepping in our power as parents? Why are we not helping other people build their financial muscles so they can stand on their own 2 feet? And granted, I understand that people come upon hard times, but I am telling you, these are patterns that are grooved into our brains. And if you've watched any of my other videos, I talk about that we operate on 2 operating systems as human beings. We have the conscious mind, which is only 3% of the time of our response system to the world. And the subconscious mind is 97% of the time. That's how we're responding and or reacting to everything that comes around us. And so by you saying no, it's helping people get out of that subconscious patterning and to get into a world and a life that they really want to create, including your own. So if you really want to help people, one of the best ways to do that is if you're a giver. I'm a giver. I used to have this fund because, I have 11 brothers and sisters. I have, I think, 35 nieces and nephews. I've lost count. So many that there's always somebody that needs some help. Well, I have a savings account that I set up. I call it the Murphy Relief Fund. So anytime anyone who's in the Murphy family needs some help, when somebody asks me, I look at the balance in that account, and that's how much I am willing to help somebody else out because I'm also obtaining my own personal goals over here as well. I didn't negotiate myself away because I was saying no if it wasn't in this bucket that I already planned for. So I hope these have really helped you get to a better place of bringing your heart along the way in your financial life because you're important and you matter. So don't forget to hit that like button and that notification bell and subscribe to the channel because I am here to really help you get to a life that you absolutely love. Thanks, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.